Section 10 of the Letters of Jane Austen. This Librivox recording is in the public domain. Letter 22. Southampton, Wednesday, January 7th, 1807. My dear Cassandra, you are mistaken in supposing I should expect your letter on Sunday. I had no idea of hearing from you before Tuesday, and my pleasure yesterday was therefore unhurt by any previous disappointment. I thank you for writing so much. You must really have sent me the value of 2 letters in one. We are extremely glad to hear that Elizabeth is so much better, and hope you will be sensible of still further amendment in her when you return from Canterbury. Of your visit there I must now speak incessantly. It surprises but pleases me more, and I consider it as a very just and honorable distinction of you, and not less to the credit of Mrs. Knight. I have no doubt of your spending your time with her most pleasantly in quiet and rational conversation, and am so far from thinking her expectations of you will be deceived, that my only fear is of your being so agreeable and so much to her taste as to make her wish to keep you with her forever. If that should be the case, we must remove to Canterbury, which I should not like so well as Southampton. When you receive this, our guests will be all gone or going, and I shall be left to the comfortable disposal of my time, to ease of mind from the torments of rice puddings and apple dumplings, and probably to regret that I did not take more pains to please them all. Mrs. J. Austen has asked me to return with her to Steventon. I need not give my answer, and she has invited my mother to spend there the time of Mrs. F. A.'s confinement, which she seems half inclined to do. A few days ago I had a letter from Miss Irvine, and as I was in her debt, you will guess it to be a remonstrance, not a very severe one, however. The first page is in her usual retrospective, jealous, inconsistent style, but the remainder is chatty and harmless. She supposes my silence may have proceeded from resentment of her not having written to inquire particularly after my whooping cough, etc. She is a funny one. I have answered her letter, and have endeavored to give something like the truth, with as little incivility as I could, by placing my silence to the want of subject in the very quiet way in which we live. Phoebe has repented and stays. I have also written to Charles, and I answered Miss Buller's letter by return of post, as I intended to tell you in my last. 2 or 3 things I recollected when it was too late, that I might have told you. One is that the Welbys have lost their eldest son by a putrid fever at Eton, and another that Tom Chute is going to settle in Norfolk. You have scarcely ever mentioned Lizzy since your being at Godmersham. I hope it is not because she is altered for the worse. I cannot yet satisfy Fanny as to Mrs. Foote's baby's name, and I must not encourage her to expect a good one, as Captain Foote is a professed adversary to all but the plainest. He likes only Mary, Elizabeth, Anne, etc. Our best chance is of Caroline, which in compliment to a sister seems the only exception. He dined with us on Friday, and I fear will not soon venture again, for the strength of our dinner was a boiled leg of mutton, underdone even for James, and Captain Foote has a particular dislike to underdone mutton. But he was so good-humored and pleasant that I did not much mind his being starved. He gives us all the most cordial invitation to his house in the country, saying just what the Williams ought to say to make us welcome. Of them we have seen nothing since you left us, and we hear that they are just gone to Bath again, to be out of the way of further alterations at Brooklands. Mrs. F. A. has had a very agreeable letter from Mrs. Dickson, who is delighted with the purse, and desires her not to provide herself with a christening dress, which is exactly what her young correspondent wanted, and she means to defer making any of the caps as long as she can, in hope of having Mrs. D.'s present in time to be serviceable as a pattern. She desires me to tell you that the gowns were cut out before your letter arrived, but that they are long enough for Caroline. The beds, as I believe they are called, have fallen to Frank's share to continue, and of course are cut out to admiration. Alphonsine did not do. We were disgusted in 20 pages, as, independent of a bad translation, it has indelicacies which disgrace a pen hitherto so pure, and we changed it for the female Quixote, which now makes our evening amusement, to me a very high one, as I find the work quite equal to what I remembered it. Mrs. F.A., to whom it is new, enjoys it as one could wish. The other Mary, I believe, has little pleasure from that or any book. My mother does not seem at all more disappointed than ourselves at the termination of the family treaty. She thinks less of that just now than of the comfortable state of her own finances, which she finds on closing her year's accounts beyond her expectation, as she now begins the new year with a balance of £30 in her favor, and when she has written her answer to my aunt, which you know always hangs a little upon her mind, she will be above the world entirely. You will have a great deal of unreserved discourse with Mrs. K., I dare say, upon this subject, as well as upon many other of our family matters. Abuse everybody but me. Thursday. We expected James yesterday, but he did not come. If he comes at all now, his visit will be a very short one, as he must return to morrow, that Ajax and the chair may be sent to Winchester on Saturday. Caroline's new pelisse depended upon her mother's being able or not to come so far in the chair. How the guinea that will be saved by the same means of return is to be spent, I know not. Mrs. J. A. does not talk much of poverty now, though she has no hope of my brother's being able to buy another horse next summer. Their scheme against Warwickshire continues, but I doubt the family's being at Stoneleigh so early as James says he must go, which is May. My mother is afraid I have not been explicit enough on the subject of her wealth. She began 1806 with £68, she begins 1807 with £99, and this after £32 purchase of stock. Frank, too, has been settling his accounts and making calculations, and each party feels quite equal to our present expenses, but much increase of house rent would not do for either. Frank limits himself, I believe, to 400 a year. You will be surprised to hear that Jenny is not yet come back. We have heard nothing of her since her reaching Itchingswell, and I can only suppose that she must be detained by illness in somebody or other, and that she has been each day expecting to be able to come on the morrow. I am glad I did not know beforehand that she was to be absent during the whole, or almost the whole, of our friends being with us, for though the inconvenience has not been nothing, I should have feared still more. Our dinners have certainly suffered not a little by having only Molly's head and Molly's hands to conduct them. She fries better than she did, but not like Jenny. We did not take our walk on Friday. It was too dirty, nor have we yet done it. We may perhaps do something like it to day, as after seeing Frank skate, which he hopes to do in the meadows by the beach, we are to treat ourselves with a passage over the ferry. It is one of the pleasantest frosts I ever knew, so very quiet. I hope it will last some time longer for Frank's sake, who is quite anxious to get some skating. He tried yesterday, but it would not do. Our acquaintance increased too fast. He was recognized lately by Admiral Bertie, and a few days since arrived the Admiral and his daughter Catherine to wait upon us. There was nothing to like or dislike in either. To the Berties are to be added the Lances, with whose cards we have been endowed, and whose visit Frank and I returned yesterday. They live about 1 3/4 miles from S. to the right of the new road to Portsmouth, and I believe their house is one of those which are to be seen almost anywhere among the woods on the other side of the Itchen. It is a handsome building, stands high, and in a very beautiful situation. We found only Mrs. Lance at home, and whether she boasts any offspring besides a grand pianoforte did not appear. She was civil and chatty enough, and offered to introduce us to some acquaintance in Southampton, which we gratefully declined. I suppose they must be acting by the orders of Mr. Lance of Netherton in this civility, as there seems no other reason for their coming near us. They will not come often, I dare say. They live in a handsome style, and are rich, and she seemed to like to be rich, and we gave her to understand that we were far from being so. She will soon feel, therefore, that we are not worth her acquaintance. You must have heard from Martha by this time. We have had no accounts of Kintbury since her letter to me. Mrs. F. A. has had one fainting fit lately. It came on as usual after eating a hearty dinner, but did not last long. I can recollect nothing more to say. When my letter is gone, I suppose I shall. Yours affectionately, J. A. I have just asked Caroline if I should send her love to her godmamma, to which she answered, Yes. Letter 23. Southampton, February 8. Our garden is putting in order by a man who bears a remarkably good character, but has a very fine complexion, and asks something less than the first. The shrubs which border the gravel walk, he says, are only sweetbrier and roses, and the latter of an indifferent sort. We mean to get a few of a better kind, therefore, and at my own particular desire he procures us some syringas. I could not do without a syringa for the sake of Cowper's line. We talk also of a laburnum. The border under the terrace wall is clearing away to receive currants and gooseberry bushes, and a spot is found very proper for raspberries. The alterations and improvements within doors, too, advance very properly, and the offices will be made very convenient indeed. Our dressing table is constructing on the spot out of a large kitchen table belonging to the house, for doing which we have permission of Mr. Huskett, Lord Lansdowne's painter, domestic painter I should call him, for he lives in the castle. Domestic chaplains have given way to this more necessary office, and I suppose whenever the walls want no touching up, he is employed about my lady's face. The morning was so wet that I was afraid we should not be able to see our little visitor, but Frank, who alone could go to church, called for her after service, and she is now talking away at my side and examining the treasures of my writing-desk drawers, very happy, I believe. Not at all shy, of course. Her name is Catherine, and her sister's Caroline. She is something like her brother, and as short for her age, but not so well-looking. What has become of all the shyness in the world? Moral as well as natural diseases disappear in the progress of time, and new ones take their place. Shyness and the sweating sickness have given way to confidence and paralytic complaints. Evening. Our little visitor has just left us, and left us highly pleased with her. She is a nice, natural, open-hearted, affectionate girl, with all the ready civility which one sees in the best children in the present day, so unlike anything that I was myself at her age, and I am often all astonishment and shame. Half her time was spent at spillikins, which I consider as a very valuable part of our household furniture, and is not the least important benefaction from the family of Knight to that of Austen. But I must tell you a story. Mary has for some time had notice from Mrs. Dickson of the intended arrival of a certain Miss Fowler in this place. Miss F. is an intimate friend of Mrs. D., and a good deal known as such to Mary. On Thursday last she called here while we were out. Mary found, on our return, her card with only her name on it, and she had left word that she would call again. The particularity of this made us talk, and among our other conjectures, Frank said in joke, "I dare say she is staying with the Pearsons." The connection of the names struck Mary, and she immediately recollected Miss Fowler's having been very intimate with persons so called, and, upon putting everything together, we have scarcely a doubt of her being actually staying with the only family in the place whom we cannot visit. What a contretemps! In the language of France. What an unluckiness! In that of Madame Duval. The black gentleman has certainly employed one of his menial imps to bring about this complete, though trifling, mischief. Miss F. has never called again, but we are in daily expectation of it. Miss P. has, of course, given her a proper understanding of the business. It is evident that Miss F. did not expect or wish to have the visit returned, and Frank is quite as much on his guard for his wife as we could desire for her sake or our own. We shall rejoice in being so near Winchester when Edward belongs to it, and can never have our spare bed filled more to our satisfaction than by him. Does he leave Eltham at Easter? We are reading at Clarentine, and are surprised to find how foolish it is. I remember liking it much less on a second reading than at the first, and it does not bear a third at all. It is full of unnatural conduct and forced difficulties, without striking merit of any kind. Miss Harrison is going into Devonshire to attend Mrs. Dunstan, as usual. Miss J. is married to young Mr. G., and is to be very unhappy. He swears, drinks, is cross, jealous, selfish and brutal. The match makes her family miserable, and has occasioned his being disinherited. The Browns are added to our list of acquaintance. He commands the sea fencibles here under Sir Thomas, and was introduced at his own desire by the latter when we saw him last week. As yet the gentlemen only have visited, as Mrs. B. is ill, but she is a nice-looking woman, and wears one of the prettiest straw bonnets in the place. Monday. The garret beds are made, and ours will be finished to day. I had hoped it would be finished on Saturday, but neither Mrs. Hall nor Jenny was able to give help enough for that, and I have as yet done very little, and Mary nothing at all. This week we shall do more, and I should like to have all the 5 beds completed by the end of it. There will then be the window curtains, sofa cover, and a carpet to be altered. I should not be surprised if we were to be visited by James again this week. He gave us reason to expect him soon, and if they go to Eversley, he cannot come next week. There, I flatter myself I have constructed you a smartish letter, considering my want of materials, but like my dear Dr. Johnson, I believe I have dealt more in notions than facts. I hope your cough is gone, and that you are otherwise well, and remain with love, yours affectionately, J. A. End of Section 10.